You are what you eat, especially in these times that there is COVID-19. What happens to us? What are some of the things that we need to do to keep our immune system always able or capable of fighting this deadly virus? Today we'll be discussing our safety, especially with foods that we eat in these times. These are trying times for all of us. We are encouraged to wear our nose mask, to stay 1 meter away from each other, and to try as much as possible to wash our hands. And in washing our hands, what happens to the food we eat? We get to some vendors and we want to buy food. The places of preparing these foods, what happens there? What is the situation on the ground? Today, this is what we're discussing. And to aid me do this is a rep from the Food and Drugs Authority. Of course, when we mention Food and Drugs Authority must come in mind. We're talking about food, we are talking about drugs, we are talking about household chemicals, any other thing that has to do with our day-to-day activities, especially in these COVID-19 times. We'll be speaking to Mrs. Joycelyn Emusa. She is the head Food Safety Management Department, Food and Drugs Authority. Today we'll be having this discussion, as well as Ya Asanteaka Fuiklu, PhD, MPH, GPH. These are their ranks, these are their designations. Today, this is what we'll be talking about: food safety and COVID-19. What we eat is what comes out of us. And so if you're not able to get to eat something properly, this is what happens to us. We'll be right back after the break. Stay with us.
Supa na wanya pomuden se wo banum nso a hwe hu se eye mega purified mineral water eye nso a yetu ni baby pa asaso ne so se kroje se wonya mega purified mineral water bogu ubu a wo see you manum nsupa mega mineral water de edanso esan say the modern technology so na aye ede ne nkabia ne atri mega purified mineral water bacteria na mhen wa bewram eye very hygienic obia di wadanse mega mineral water neatly packaged for 500 ml bottles mu na wani bosua na okon donsio wo benya mega purified mineral water to bebia to phone call dodo wa amount 40 per junction and now for 050 7055 409 and now 055 392 1088 mega purified mineral water akona kono.
Niyama itwasa wo hwe abra wo koto nnuane e wo konku ana kwata mu a waye na dada. Eho hia abre nyina se wani beko nnuane a woto ho. Ma wani na ho pefe na hwe niyama edidi so yi abre bi a wo koto konku ana kwata mu nnuane a waye na dada. Yenye ahweye wo nnuane a watro ho reduced to clear ana adoman da so se donkumi. If we say in pain bebre no sa nnuane ya ben expiry ana best before date. Enu to tododo obetumi edi amunamunem hwa ansana expiry ana best before dates no aso. Hwenuane ani konku ana krata egumwon ho ntroye akan yie ansana wato. Imfato no te say EXP MD ana best before date ntroye no biye akase asin bi. Ana colors no asesa etrese obede ne nsaka inti hwene yie ansana wato saa enuane. Abra yesese ho akodi afahye kese yi mento nnuane anchoye biara engu ne konku ana kwata no ho. Mento nnuane a konko ana krata egumu no atete ana awe na achi. Sa nnuane yi a egu konko ana krata eho atochema no ne ewiem ne asase so nsachire bi edinkita ho. Ene mmoa wanketo bi a yemfa yeni hunu edinkita ho a ebetumi de nnuane mu yare beba. Ebiemu nso mento nnuane a ne konko no ehuhuru. Efrise we de di pefe say mmoa wanketo edi nnuane mu yare ba no edinkita ho waduane kro no mu. Mento nnuane egu chensen ana konko a amoamoa. Efrise ade ese chensen no mu no betumi ebubu afra aduane no ma empo adane aduane no ewuduru. Na eba no saa aduane no echa wo chensen no mu no na akonya se edi nnuane mu yare beba no so ekosoro. Na ne krakra no hwese wonto nnuane a yato egu ewia so. Efrise we tumi ma aduane na ho aden kofem. Abribia kayo se ne ewudidie no sara na wote enunti yamma aduane ho bambo ne ahweye enye yedada asetena ene nipa dodo asede wa bra ye di COVID-19 ehyehyeye yisuwe. Niyama itwasa wo hwe abra wo koto nnuane wo konku ana kwata mu a waye na dada. Eho hia abre nyina se wani beko nnuane a woto ho. Ma wani na ho pefe na hwe niyama edidi so yi abre bia wo koto konku ana kwata mu nnuane a waye na dada. Impen bebre no konku ana kwata mu nnuane a waye na dada no twase ewo expiry date ana best before date. Die edikan se wohu ntroye te se BB 20/12/20 a echirese ne oye aduane no intumi nyinyine mpefe fa aduane na hoden ana ne ya eyese obedi wa abra openima abosome da etoso aduano wa fimpim mienu ne aduano apa ho de etoso mienu nnuane ya tro ho EXP 20/12/20 no trese Muntumi ndisa aduane no wa abra openima abosome da etoso aduano wa fimpim mienu ne aduano apa ho. Ebiem nnuane ya tro ho MD 20/12/20 shelf life 2 years no trese ne oye aduane no intumi nyine mpefe fa aduane na hoden anane ya eyese obedi wa abra mfie mienu apa da ode ye aduane no ho. Enunti hweniye na one to nnuane a best before date and expiry date no apa ho. Abribia kayo se ne ewudidie no sara na wote enunti yamma aduane ho bambo ne ahweye enye yedada asetena ene nipa dodo asede wa bra ye di COVID-19 ehyehyeye yisuwe.
So that was a video from the Food and Drugs Authority. When we buy canned foods or when we get into the malls, when we get to the market, what are we supposed to look out for before we purchase something? You realize that you are in a cold store or you are at a place where you can get any part or any frozen food to buy. You realize that people are in their mask. Is it that when some of the COVID virus settles on the food, we get it to our homes and we eat it and then we get COVID? Can it be transmitted through the food we eat? Basically, this is what our topic or our discussions will be centered on. We're going to find out if we can really get COVID through the food we eat. Then it means that our kenke, our wache, our rice, our spaghetti, our noodles, things are I mean, we can't even buy anything from outside. And those of us who like or who love to eat the plantain, the roasted ones especially, we are in trouble. So today we'll be discussing that. Our vegetables, those of us who love to eat vegetables, doctors would always tell you that when you're eating salads, you should make sure that they are cold. Yes, they are supposed to be in fridge or in fridges, or they are supposed to come in a cold state. And so on the line is Mrs. Joycelyn Emusa. She is the head Food Safety Management Department of the Food and Drugs Authority. Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. I hope you are doing well.
I'm doing well, and I hope you're also doing well.
Yes, please. And you are keeping safe as well.
Yes.
Okay. So have you been able to eat something that will boost your immune system today?
Yes, I think as far as it is food, it would boost your immune system.
Okay. So including fruits and veggies?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, what are some of the things that we should look out for when we are purchasing these food items, especially?
Okay. So when we go to the market to purchase food items, it's very important that we would make sure that where we are buying from, it's hygienic.
Okay.
First of all, the fruits and vegetables that we are buying, for instance, if we are buying tomatoes, they should be whole tomatoes, not the ones that are broken or getting rotten.
Rotten. Okay.
Yes. It's all because when the tomatoes, for instance, when it's broken, sometimes you see that there are these whitish things.
Yeah.
So those are molds. And at that, they have started foliage have setting because it is broken. So microorganisms, the germs, what we know as germs, commonly as germs, have started their activity. So they are multiplying. So as much as possible, when you are buying fruits and vegetables from the market, you have to make sure that the fruits are whole. They are not broken anywhere.
Okay. How about canned foods, especially when we get into our malls? We want to get green peas, we want to get baked beans, we want to get this palm nut in the can. What happens to them? What should we look out for?
Okay. So with canned products, it's very important that you check the expiry date.
Okay.
The date markings are key. I think it should pop at you the first time. Whatever you want to buy that is canned, you must check whether the date is has elapsed or still valid. And this is because when the date has elapsed, then that means that the manufacturer is telling you that you can't hold him liable because the product, if it expired, then that means that it is not eaten because it is stopped. If it is best before, that means that you can't hold the manufacturer liable.
Okay.
Because the quality and safety of the product may have been compromised. So when you are buying in the shop, it's very, very important that you make sure that the expiry date has not elapsed. And also, when you are buying, the can should not be dented.
Yeah.
Because when it is dented, then there's a probability, there's a high probability that the inside lining of the can may be broken.
It's gone off. Okay.
And therefore, there will be reaction between the food
and then the can.
metal.
Okay.
Yes. So it's very important that the can shouldn't be dented. At
Okay.
the same time, the can must also not be bloated. Sometimes you see that the top is getting rounded.
Yeah. It looks like it's a bit bigger than its normal size.
Yes. When you see that, then that means that the microorganisms have been able to enter the can because probably the seaming, the canning process in the seaming was not done very well. So microorganisms have found their way into the can, and their activity is what is causing the can to look bloated, which is very dangerous for us as human beings to eat. So when you see that the can is bloated, that is a red flag. You shouldn't buy it. It has to be discarded.
Okay.
So it's very important. Expiry date bloated, dented. These are key things that when you are going to buy canned products, you must make sure that it's all at the right place before you purchase.
All right, thank you very much for that clarification. Now let's come back to food safety and COVID-19. When we mention food safety in these times, what should come into our minds?
Okay. Currently, there's no scientific evidence that COVID-19 can be transmitted through food.
Okay.
But then, for extra precautions, we would always say that when you bring products you go and buy from outside, you can wipe the product before you store them. So that is for extra precaution. And when we are going to buy, the protocols must be followed. Your nose mask is on. You make sure that you wash your hands before entering the shop. You have your hand sanitizers. It's very, very, very important. So these are some of the things that you can do. And especially when we go out to, let's say, restaurants to eat or something like that, you have to make sure that where you are sitting, the place is sanitized. When you buy, you keep the money, you take the change, you sanitize your hands. And as much as possible, if you can, buy and take home to eat and not take to eat, so that you can prevent contact as much as possible, so that this COVID-19 won't be at risk.
Okay. So now I want to go to the supermarket, right? I get to the entrance and I'm supposed to wash my hands and, of course, sanitize my hands as well. So I sanitize and I get to the vegetable or the fruit section. I want to pick up a fruit. Is it okay if I just pick up the fruit without washing my hand and without sanitizing my hands again? Because the sanitizer is still in your hands. If it goes inside, what happens to us?
The sanitizer is for external use only.
Okay.
And you realize that when you apply it to your hands, it's supposed to dry. And because of the percentage alcohol, you realize that it starts to evaporate very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So once it is dry, yes, you are taking the fruit from the shelf. That is okay. But then, as much as possible, when you get home, you are washing them before you store them. And also, this alcohol for external use is not supposed to, you are not supposed to say that, let's say you bought an apple and you want to eat it, and therefore you are using sanitizer to wipe the apple, and then you say you are eating the apple. No. You have to wash it properly before you eat. The sanitizer is not supposed to be ingested as in our mouth and into our stomach. So as much as possible, it's for external use only. It is not a substitute for hand washing or washing fruits and vegetables properly.
Okay, so the other products that are in cans, that are in packs, is it okay if the place is sprayed or the place is sanitized and some of the chemical that has been mixed gets onto these products? Is that okay?
Like what chemical have been mixed? As in the sanitizer?
Yes, it has been mixed. They are sanitizing the place, and then one way or the other, by mistake, some of the products or some of the chemical gets onto a can. What happens?
They're supposed to, but the shopkeepers are supposed to make sure that you wipe the can, you wash them when you have it. Because as much as possible, you have on the wet top, you are supposed to sanitize wet top. That is what it should be all the time. When you clean, you sanitize the wet top.
Okay.
And like I told you earlier, with the 70% alcohol, it will evaporate quickly, and then your wet top is clean and sanitized, and then you can store whatever you want to store there, or cut whatever you want to cut with on your chopping board. You understand? But then, if, for example, an amount of it goes into a packaged product or something, then that must be discarded. That must be taken out from the bunch.
Okay.
Because, like I said, the sanitizer is not supposed to be ingested. So as much as possible, you must not let it get into the food. It is for external use only.
Okay, thank you very much. But how long, considering every food and the kind of temperature that is supposed to be beneath it when you are cooking, in terms of getting rid of viruses, what should be the temperature of every food item or most of the food items that we eat?
As in ready-to-eat food?
Yes, ready-to-eat food.
Okay, for ready-to-eat food, the temperature is supposed to be 60 degrees C and above.
60 degrees?
Yes. Let's say
Celsius.
wache or rice, it has to be 60 degrees C and above. That is why we'd always say that when you are selling, it has to be, you have your ice chest or there's a little heat under so that that temperature would be maintained. If it is cold, let's say salad, it has to be 4 degrees C or colder. So as soon as you finish, it has to go into the fridge so that the microorganisms would not multiply. That is the whole thing that you are doing. Because when the microorganisms, they like the ambient temperature or the normal temperature that is okay for all of us. So at the normal temperature, that is when the microorganisms or the germs begin to multiply. And their multiplication, depending on the type of germ that is there, it could be such that the rate of multiplication, some of them may be higher than others. But then when the temperature is 60 degrees and above, it is not a conducive atmosphere for them, so they won't be able to multiply that quickly. So their concentrations will be such that your body will be able to deal with it, so you will not be affected. But then when the multiplication goes on and on at the room temperature, then when you eat the food, then you have foodborne illnesses. So as much as possible, the safe temperature for storing food is 60 degrees plus for hot food, and then 4 degrees or colder for the salad and then the packed food.
Interesting. Now, let's come back to how we store these foods. You can testify to the fact that it's close to a year when we went to a lockdown. The country was going through this crisis of COVID-19. We had to go through a lockdown and stuff. We had to buy food and then store in large quantities. How do we disinfect? Because viruses stay on surfaces for some time before their potency wears out. How are we able to store these foods and then disinfect wherever we are storing these foods? How best can we do that?
Okay, I told you from the beginning that there's no scientific proof that COVID-19 can be transmitted through food. But then for extra precaution, you can wipe down
the surfaces.
Your packages. Yeah. So if you've wiped down the package and then you have washed them, and then you put them in the refrigerator. Your refrigerator, the fridge temperature is 4 degrees or colder, and then the freezer temperature is -18 or colder. So once you have washed and then put them in the fridge or the freezer, you are safe.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So does your authority or your outfit have any plans for us in terms of managing our foods and then making sure that it is safe for the general public? Any idea, any plan laid out for us?
If you could come again with your question.
So I'm asking that has your management come out with a laid plan or management plan for us in our households, in our workplaces, in terms of managing our food, especially? Okay.
We've been doing a lot of public education, and we always appreciate when you give us platforms like this because it is food safety, like we've always been saying, it's everybody's business.
Okay.
And for that reason, once we get a platform, like we are always educating, food safety will tell you, you have to make sure that you have, like I said initially, if you are at home, how do you, in your kitchen, how do you make sure that you sanitize your worktop before cutting whatever fruits and vegetables that you are using to cook?
Great.
It's very important that you sanitize your worktop. You have chopping boards, either color-coded chopping boards or
the wooden one.
You don't use one chopping board for everything.
Every other thing. Okay.
Yes, because it's very important that you use different chopping boards. Let's say you have a chopping board for cutting meat,
Yeah.
and another one for
vegetables.
chopping vegetables.
The other one for fruit.
The simple reason is that for meat, you would agree with me that as you chop the meat on the chopping board, you see some of the dents that come on the chopping board.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, at the end of the day, when you are washing, you are not able to wash
everything.
Those dents.
Yeah,
and
entirely.
Then some of it, exactly. And then you leave it there, and then you are going to cut onions or tomatoes or maybe something else on it.
Okay.
So the probability of you cross-contaminating your vegetables is very high. But then if it's a different chopping board, then you know that this one is only for the vegetables. So then the probability of cross-contamination is minimized.
Okay, that's fine.
So having different chopping boards is very important in your kitchen. And then cooking at the right temperature, making sure it is hot. If you have to reheat food, especially leftover food, you make sure that it is piping hot before you eat. You don't just, as soon as, because you are so hungry, you put it in the microwave, and then within a minute or two, you just see that it's a little warm, and then you say you are eating. No, it must be piping hot before you eat.
Okay. I think that's basically what we need to know in our homes.
Exactly.
All right, ma'am. Thank you very much for your time and for the education and information as well.
Thank you. And I think you got my name wrong. The name is Jocelyn Ejakwa Amusa.
Okay, Jocelyn. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right, so you heard it all. When we are eating foods, especially our rice, our kinky, our wachi, it should be very, very hot. So those of us who do not like eating hot foods, this is a time for us to always try as much as possible to keep it hot and to keep it cold when it's supposed to be cold, especially our salads. So those of us who love salads, please, when you're buying it, make sure that it is very cold. 4 degrees Celsius and 60 degrees Celsius, hot. So this is it, and we'll be right back after the break with more. Stay with us.
Go, good people of Ghana. Here are some safety measures on prevention of coronavirus. 1. Cover your mouth with tissue when you cough or sneeze. Dispose of tissue into a bin immediately you cough into it, and wash your hands with soap and the running water. Avoid shaking hands and use sanitizers as often as you can. Signs and symptoms of coronavirus include fever, cough, sneezing, and difficulty in breathing. Should you experience any of these, or for more inquiries, please contact 0558 439 868. That's 0558 439 868. Or call 0509 497 700. That's 0509 497 700.
Remember to always wash your hands with soap and the running water.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Service, and partners.
Niyama itwa sɛ wohwɛ abra wokoto nnuane e wokonku ana kwata mu a waye ne dada. Ɛho hia abre nyina sɛ wani bɛkɔ nnuane a woto ho. Ma wani na ho pefe na hwɛ niyama edidi so yi abre bi a wokoto konku ana kwata mu nnuane a waye ne dada. Yenye ahweye wo nnuane a watro ho reduced to clear ana adoman da so sɛ donkumi. If we say in pain bebree no sa nnuane ya ben expiry and best before date. Enu to tododwa obetumi adi amunamunem hwa ansa na expiry and best before date no aso. Hwe nnuane ani konku ana krata egumwo no ho ntroye akan yie ansa na wato. Mfato ho te say EXP MD and best before date ntroye no biye akase asin bi. Ana colors no asesa e trese obede ne nsaka inti hwene yie ansa na wato saa nnuane. Abra yesese ho akodi afahye kase yi. Mento nnuane antroye biara engu ne konku ana krata no ho. Mento nnuane a konku ana krata egumu no atete ana awe na achi. Sa nnuane yi a egu konku ana krata ho ato chema no ne ewiem ne asase so nsachire bi edinkita ho. Ene mmoa wanketo bi a yemfa yeni hunu edinkita ho a ebetumi de nnuane mu yare beba. Ebiemu nso mento nnuane a ne konku no ehuhuru. Efri se we de di pefe se mmoa wanketo edi nnuane mu yare ba no edinkita ho waduane kro no mu. Mento nnuane egu chensen ana konku a amoamoa. Efri se ade ese chensen no mu no betumi ebubu afra aduane no ma empo adane aduane no ewuduro. Na eba no saa aduane no echa wo chensen no mu no na akonya se ade nnuane mu yare beba no so ekosoro. Na ne krakra no hwese wonto nnuane a yato egu ewia so. Efri se we tumi ma aduane na ho aden kofem. Abribia kayo se ne ewudidie no sara na wote. Enu nti yamma aduane ho bambo ne ahweye enye ye daada setena ene nipa dodo asede wa bra ye di COVID-19 nhyehyeye yisuwe.
Thanks for staying with us. This is Regulators here on Adwa Television. My name is Nafali, and of course, today we are discussing food safety and COVID-19. We are talking to stakeholders in the regulatory industry, especially when we are talking about Food and Drugs Authority would come into mind. Now, we'll be speaking to Ya Asantua Kafui Klu. She's going to tell us a bit more on the precautions, especially after WHO has given out so much to governments in different countries concerning our food and how safe it should be for consumption, and that is the only way to help the population in each country concerning weather change here and there, because every country has its own weather conditions. So today we'll be speaking to Ya Santua Kafui. Hello, Ya. Good evening. Yes, nice to meet you too. I can see we are doing a Zoom call, so I can see you up there. But WHO has given us a lot of precautions, especially to government and to those in authority. Now, here in Ghana, the Food and Drugs Authority are doing their best. The Ghana Health Service is also trying its best to see to it that those with COVID or AIDS-related diseases are able to get the best health care they can ever get. Now, when we come back to precautions, especially to groceries, to food stuff, to things that we usually eat, what are some of the things that we should look out for that do not even pop up in our minds on a daily basis?
Okay, so I believe your listeners and everyone watching is aware that COVID is not a foodborne illness, it is a respiratory disease. So firstly, it is not transmitted through food. I mean, so far there's not been any research relating to the transmission of COVID through food. But since we are not really sure what is going on, there are so many issues with COVID, and scientists are not really very certain on its transmission. I believe there are some few things we can do. So when it comes to groceries, for instance, I think that when people just adhere to the normal ways of taking care of, probably, let's say, fruits and veggies that you're eating raw, You can just simply wash with vinegar and water,
or water with some salt, as we've been doing just to prevent foodborne illness. That is one. And then with regards to temperature with cooking, I mean, in Ghana, we cook our food so well, sometimes overcook. So that wouldn't be any problem because around 75 degrees Celsius with at least 3 minutes of cooking, the virus just dies. So,
Yeah, are we not losing our nutrients when we overcook our meals, especially when
oh, yes, we
comes
do.
to vegetables?
Yes. So I mentioned that to just assure us that the way we even cook is not going to allow the virus to survive. So that is it. But then I said the virus is not transmitted through food at all. No, it's actually an airborne like disease. So that is not even something to worry about. So yeah, coming to that, yes, we should try to eat our fruits and veggies as raw as possible, and even if you're eating it cooked, maybe just quickly steamed, because in this era we want to be as healthy as possible. We want our immune system to be stronger. We wouldn't want to have any underlying health conditions that would help us be sort of, even if we get exposed to the virus and even if we get the disease, how the impact on us, because a lot of people get a virus, people have different symptoms. Some people it really affects them, some a bit mildly, some don't even know they have it, so they get a positive test. So there's really no clear scientific reasons why that is, but then we all know that for any form of illness, once your body is healthy, once nutritionally you are
Fine.
good, it's way better for you that way. So up on the fruits and veggies, I know a lot of people are into vitamins these days, but the thing with supplements is a supplement is not a nutrient per se. It is not food. So even if you're taking
Food supplements.
vitamins, yes,
Okay.
you should eat healthy for the supplement to work. You can't wake up and then all you take is vitamin C and zinc and other multivitamins. That's not going to work because your body needs a matrix, that is the food, to absorb those minerals and vitamins into the body for it to work well, for it to do whatever it has to do in the body. So just upping so much on it is not going to work. And it might even cause some toxicity problems, especially for the
soluble vitamins like vitamin A and vitamin D.
So what are some of the foods that we need to eat that would aid, I mean, the vitamin C's that we are taking, the zinc tablets we are taking? What are some of the foods that we can eat to complement it?
The common one is oranges because that's
Great.
cheaper. Everyone can afford it.
Yeah.
Our consumer is good. Mostly citrus.
So pineapple, I'll just talk about things people can afford. Pineapples, oranges, mangoes, pawpaws, all the fruits have an amount of vitamin C. But oranges are like the highest. I mean, in the location we have, I know there are apples and strawberries and all that around, but not everyone can afford it. So we just go with the local ones. And then now I think what we call alasan is out of season, but I really like it. And if you happen to get some, that is really good to take to. It's really high in antioxidants and vitamin C. Yeah. Alasan, it's this it's one of my favorite foods. I can eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm actually in Ghana for holidays now, so I've been eating a lot of it. Oh yes. So food safety is something that is a big concern any day, anytime, every day. So especially in this era, it's most important because you wouldn't want to have a foodborne illness that has already compromised your system and your immunity, and then I'll get exposed to COVID. That's going to be a disaster. So you want to, as best as possible, make sure your food is safe. And when we talk about food safety, I think a lot of times we talk about the microbiology aspects, that is not getting exposed to salmonella, E. coli. These are the two major like foodborne illness, especially around there. Probably listeria, but then I don't think the kind of foods we eat here might have a lot of listeria, like contamination, but then Salmonella E. coli is like one big thing all over the world. It kills people. And that is basically like what I talked about earlier. When you're cooking the food, these microorganisms are going to get killed. And so when you are cooking the food, well, that's not a problem. The problem will be after you have cooked the food, how are you storing it? And then the environment, yes, in which the food is kept, yes. And then when it comes to fresh fruit and veggies, it's just a matter of like cleaning them very well with running water. If you don't have running water, that's fine. Just make sure you have some salt or vinegar. Salt is something everyone can get. It's cheap. So just put a little salt. Yes. Yes. And then you can even soak it for a minute or two, and then you just like rinse it, and yeah, you're ready to eat that. And then there's another aspect which probably that will be heavy metals in food. I it's hard to actually explain because I think the general population is not very much aware of that. But then there are heavy metals in food that can cause real adverse health problems in the body. But it's too, yes, yes, contaminated. Yes, 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 and yes, yes. So that will be you'll be looking at arsenic, you'll be looking at lead and iron, and if this is in water and we are drinking it or we are even using it to cook, then we have a big problem because this is no micro. So cooking it doesn't do nothing. Boiling the water doesn't do anything. So that is something that higher authorities have to, because the average person cannot really control that. I can only boil my water to get rid of, let's say, the cholera virus, but I can boil water to take out any heavy metals. I can't boil water to take out arsenic. So I hope the people in authority will be listening to this, and then they can do something about that, because these heavy metals sometimes they even bind to, for instance, if you cook your food or you wash your food or you actually drank water that was contaminated with arsenic, it's actually going to make you malnourished because it's going to bind to a lot of the nutrients in the food and it's not going to be absorbed. So you can be eating a very nutritious food, but nothing is really happening because the nutrients are being bound by these heavy metals. So that is another aspect. But then what the average person can do would just have to do with the microbial safety, most of it. Cooking, making sure if the food is supposed to be eaten hot, you eat it hot. And then if it's a cool food, you always make sure it's kept in that temperature. And then you avoid transferring food from cold temperature to the hot temperature or room temperature and then taking it back to the fridge. It causes a lot of problems. And also there are even microorganisms that can grow in the fridge. I think people don't know about that.
People tend out to cook in large quantities. We put them in the fridge or the freezer. We pick it up in the morning. We let it cool down a bit. We put it on fire, I mean, here and there. In this instance, how are we supposed to get it?
No, it's okay in the fridge. There's no problem in the fridge. Just make sure like it's really cooked, and after it's cooked, before you transfer it into the fridge, because for instance, if you cooked it, it's out there, it gets contaminated by listeria, and you put it in the fridge, listeria can grow. Actually, that's the best temperature for it, refrigeration temperature. Yes. So microorganisms are interesting. There are some that can grow even in the freezer. So
okay.
So when you transfer it into the fridge and probably you take it out and oh, it's not that cold, I can eat it, although it's not warmed up, then you're exposing yourself to listeria. And listeria, for instance, actually causes miscarriages or spontaneous abortions in pregnant women.
Okay.
Yes. So
quite interesting.
Those are things to look at. Yes.
You see, we are in our workplaces, and so we want to eat a certain food. We go online, go on any of the social media handles, realize that someone has posted a food. Now you are interested in it. You want to get some to eat. You want to try the food. You want to taste it. We buy it, and then delivery guys have to pick it up from wherever it was being prepared from to us. Now, in transferring these foods, food security comes in. What are some of the precautionary measures that we should factor in terms of delivering our food or carrying food from one place to the other?
Okay, thanks. So when, for instance, I'm in the office, I got a delivery guy to bring me food. The first thing I'll do is I am thinking that I should have my own bowl in the office.
Okay.
So when it comes, firstly, I wash my hands because the virus can live on surfaces like for some number of hours. So maybe, although it's not a very common occurrence, but then I could get my hands on it, and then you know about this ice and not touching your nose and face and all that, and I could do that. So firstly, wash my hands, get the package from the food from the package, transfer it to my bowl or plate, discard that package, wash my hands again, heat up the food, and then eat it. That's if there's a microwave there, but if not, yeah, I'll be fine because the virus is not transmitted once I've washed my hands. So, and then can I chip in this? I realize a lot of people actually love using the sanitizer. It's like they have a romance with it. So the best way to get rid of any form of microorganism is hand washing.
So you're saying that basically the hand washing is better than sanitizing, right?
Oh yeah, sanitizer is a secondary form of something. So unless if there is no water yet, just use a sanitizer. But then hand washing is the first thing to do. You wash your hands very well with soap and water, and then I personally don't use sanitizer if I wash my hands, but then you can. But then you don't make it a habit to use sanitizers when there is soap and water. That is not the best. Microbiology. Yes.
Okay. So finally, before we go, any other thing you want to say to us in terms of food safety and food security?
Okay, so the virus is not transmitted, so no one should be so worried about that, at least for now. We don't know that because it's an airborne illness. Secondly, we should be worried about food safety in terms of not getting our system compromised by eating some contaminated food, either mostly microorganisms, and then getting sick out of that and probably now having an exposure to COVID and getting sicker from it. So that is 2. 3, as already said, just eating a lot of fruits and veggies and not using supplements to replace good food. That is not going to work. It's just going to pass through the system, not really getting absorbed. So that will be it. Yeah, I think I'm done. Unless you have any more questions for me.
Oh, no. Thank you very much, for the insights to this particular thing. Sometimes when I want to buy food outside, I'm a bit scared. I love watching a lot.
Fine.
So yes.
You're good.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
all right,
you
so viewers, you
heard
Asantua Kafuiklu. So today it has been interesting. We've learned a lot. COVID cannot be transferred through food, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't cook our foods right. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't be careful with the kind of things we eat, and especially when it is warm or it is supposed to be warm, eat it warm. When it's supposed to be hot, eat it hot. When it's supposed to be cold, take it cold. That's the only way to stay safe and to stay healthy for us. And sometimes mentioned, it says, someone once said, if Alasa season is in and you don't take it, I mean, you've lost it throughout the year. And same as pawpaw, when pawpaw is in season and is in abundance and you don't take it, it's up to you. If there's watermelon, you need to take it. It's mango, you need to take it. So every day, try and take at least one of the commonest fruits you can ever lay your hands on. If you have 2 cedars, I think you can get some. If you have 3 cedars, you can. But some of us who cannot afford, it's okay, it's all right. But once in a while, you need to take it. This has been Regulators here on Adwa TV with me, Nafa Lekwaku. Thanks for staying with us. You had Mrs. Joycelyn Ejakwa Emusa. She is from the FDA. And you had Asantua Kafuiklu. You had these 2 wonderful people who have spoken to us, and it has been awesome. Thanks so much to my producers and to all of us who made the point to watch. We'll see you same time next week, Monday. Before then, enjoy the rest of our programs.